In October 1915, the British explorer Sir Ernest Henry Shackleton, he ordered his men to evacuate their ship named Endurance because the ship had been stuck in the ice for 8 months in the Antarctic, and now it was sinking. And this meant for Shackleton that he had to give up his big dream of crossing the South Pole for the first time in history. And then crossing the South Pole was supposed to be recorded as the last achievement of his career, but now he had a heavier responsibility. He should, by any means possible, bring a group of 27 people home safely without a ship. And everything depended on his decisions. He faced many obstacles to get rid of this situation. He and his men were camping on a large piece of ice floating on the water, but the hard and cruel cold of winter would soon arrive and make everything uncontrollable. And in addition, long and dark nights, running out of food, and lack of radio waves had made the situation more ambiguous and difficult for him and his companions. But the biggest danger that scared Shackleton the most was that his men lose their motivation because it was enough that some of them start protesting and nagging so that this wave of negativity spreads to the rest of the group. He knew that this atmosphere could completely shut down a working group. So he decided to pay close attention to the morale of his people even more carefully and seriously than checking the weather conditions. He should have thought bigger than the trouble they were stuck in, and he should have shown the people in his group that the situation is not so complicated and difficult. The morning of the first day of their stay on the ice mass, he woke up the earliest and made hot tea for everyone. When he started offering tea to people, he realized that everyone's eyes were following him, and they wanted to see how he was doing to understand how the situation was. So he showed himself cheerful and even started making jokes about their new icy residence. It was as clear as day that they would be stuck there, at least until the end of winter, but they had to distract themselves so that their minds do not get confused. Shackleton prepared a list of each person's duties every morning. He tried to diversify this list as much as possible and put people in different groups, and also to ensure that no one does a hard job for a long time. The main duties of the group were to hunt seals and penguins and bring food supplies from the ship to the camp. In this way, at the end of the day, everyone gathered around the fire and everyone thought that they had done something effective. As time passed, Shackleton became more adept at understanding the changing emotions of others. At night, when they all sat around the fire, he would talk to each person individually. He used to talk scientifically with someone who was a scholar, and he used to talk about poetry and music with those who are artistic. He tried to understand the unique spirit of each person and to understand their problems in this way. For example, he realized that the scientist of the group was physically difficult to do some things, and this caused him to lose his spirit and strength due to his fatigue. Therefore, so that neither he nor the other members of the group would find out, Shackleton decided to lighten his duties. Or the other day, he realized that the photographer of the group performs his duties well and without any objections, but he does not feel important. And in this case, Shackleton decided to ask his opinion in the decisions and tried to admire his ideas. Or one night he noticed several people in the same tent murmuring together and protesting about the situation, he decided to separate them all and move each of them to a different tent. But with the onset of winter, he redoubled his attention because he could recognize the impatience of his people from their faces, behavior, and speaking lists. And to combat this, he organized ice sports. And at night, with things like gathering people together with ceremonies like singing, reading stories, and telling jokes. And this is how he returned energy and spirit to his people. But after some time, there came a time when they had to leave their residence as soon as possible because the piece of ice had shrunk dangerously. So Shackleton ordered his men to split up and fit into the 3 boats they had brought with them from the Endurance. They boarded the boats, and after the difficult and breathless crossing of the turbulent sea nearby, they reached a place known as Elephant Island, an island that is completely covered by mountains and rocky shores and has a very narrow coastal strip. So Shackleton realized that their conditions were far worse than the ice lodge, and they cannot last long there because in addition to the chaotic geographical conditions of the island, only a handful of living animals were found on the whole island, which means that there was no food to eat. So he decided to start a journey in one of the boats, the journey that was the most dangerous journey of this whole expedition. He should have gone to the nearest human settlement around them with 5 of his people, and there was no place there except the island of South Georgia, which was 1,200 kilometers away from them. He decided to take with him those who were the most ill-mannered, and his decision was very strange because this trip in a boat was very difficult and tiring, and these people could make the process of this journey more difficult with their impatience. But Shackleton's aim was not to leave these people alone with those who were to remain on the island. And finally, after a long journey with the worst ocean conditions, their little boat reached its destination. And then Shackleton managed to return to Elephant Island with the help of whale hunters and the people of that area and save the rest of his men. And this is how he made his name in history as one of the most prominent leaders in salvation. Thank you for watching this video. And lastly, always trying to be like Shackleton in critical and difficult situations.